Okay, so for those of you that haven't met me before or don't know my background, I've been in digital marketing for 12 years now, and I've helped over 3,000 different businesses across the world. I've been fortunate enough to live in Thailand, Hong Kong. I've traveled throughout Europe marketing real estate, and now found my home in Melbourne. I've been here for the last 3 years. And the reason that I got into marketing is quite a funny story. Actually, I started out as a salesperson, and I could quickly see that the guys that sold the most were the ones that actually had the best quality leads. Quantity, yes, is important, but more so quality. The guys who had really good rapport with their leads used to sell a lot more. So I started to learn a little bit about marketing. At the time, search engine optimization was the easiest way to get a lot of leads, and I took a website for a real estate development company to the top of Google for a lot of related keywords, and we were getting 10 inquiries a day, and I could literally take my pick as to who I was going to deal with, and that worked out really well. Then SEO became more competitive. Google smartened up, and we moved on to Google AdWords, and it wasn't long before I was paying $20 per click just to get somebody to come through to the website. So literally had to spend about $10 or $11,000 a month just to get the same steady flow of leads. Now, when social media started, I struggled with it at first because I thought to myself, well, I don't really see how I can leverage this when people are just posting what they have for breakfast and what they did on the weekend, and what am I supposed to do? Just comment and engage all day? When am I actually going to have time to see anyone? So when I discovered LinkedIn, I quickly decided that it was the platform for me. No different in the financial services industry. 90% of financial service providers who are on social media pick LinkedIn as their favorite. So there's this huge transformation going on in the professional space, but more so in financial services because it is so expensive to do any other form of online marketing. And you can connect with your key decision makers extremely easy. So at the time, just to finish off my story, when I started using LinkedIn, I was actually targeting medical professionals, and more specifically plastic surgeons. And I would literally go to the medical practice where the plastic surgeon worked and try and convince the receptionist to let me get an appointment with him about his digital marketing. And that quickly turned out to be quite a limiting strategy for me. And when I tried to do it on LinkedIn, the statistics that I managed to achieve at that time was I would contact 10 plastic surgeons directly, didn't have to go through any gatekeepers whatsoever, and 4 of them would respond, and I'd actually end up doing business with one of them. And that's a really good return on investment for about 20 minutes effort on LinkedIn. But what's even better about it is I actually developed a niche market which really had this domino effect of me being sought out for digital marketing in the plastic surgeon industry. So one of the cool things about LinkedIn is you can specialize. Like these days, if you do specialize, you do a lot better. So you don't need to deal with everyone. So when I was doing this, within a few months, I was generating over 50% of my sales at the time through LinkedIn, and was being asked at networking functions and so on if I could actually teach people on how to do exactly the same thing. And so sure enough, I developed this course, which the Australian Digital Marketing Institute ended up picking up about 2.5 years ago, called LinkedIn Fundamentals. Excuse me. So when I was teaching this course all around the country in Australia, I found that between 5 and 10% of the people that came along actually implemented the stuff. So they all thought it was really fantastic. It's great that you can connect and engage all these people, but they didn't actually put it into practice. And the interesting thing is when I do these seminars, a lot of people say to me, well, this is really basic stuff. You can find it all on Google, and aren't you going to teach us anything new? And when they say that, I do feel like they're not really into mastery, because at the end of the day, it is very simple. And if you can nail the strategy so that it works and you get your return on investment, that's a scalable business model. And you really don't need to know all of the nuts and bolts about the different settings that you can use and all that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, if you know how to do social media selling, you really only need to know the basics. So we'll press on. I'm just going to give you an idea of some of the things that we're going to cover today. First of all, how you can benefit from LinkedIn. set objectives and develop your strategy, how to optimize your profile so you show up for key search phrases. That's a big one. You know, people are actually using LinkedIn as a search engine these days. So I'll give you an example that's in the context of the financial services industry. If I was, let's say I had a full-time job and I was deciding to start my own business, one of the things that I would need is an accountant to start up a company. So rather than going onto Google and just going through all of the advertising and looking at the websites where, you know, the accountancy firms are telling me why they're the best provider, if I went onto LinkedIn, I could actually see who's in my existing network, who is an accountant, or if I didn't even have one in my network, who knows an accountant within my network. And then when you have a look at their profile, if it's done in the professional manner, it's actually the testimonials, the endorsements, all this social interaction that does the selling. So it's actually quite hard to fake that. So that's why there's this huge shift to social media, because people want to get validity quick. You know, gone are the days where you need to like call up your mate to ask him if he knows, you know, any good accountants. You can actually find all of the information online. It's exactly the same as you know, Urban Spoon and TripAdvisor and all these things. But you can find out exactly what the ratings are for different restaurants and so on. And there's no difference in the professional world. So building credibility, very important, obviously, in an industry such as financial services. Building your personal brand. This is by far the quickest way that you can become an industry leader. If you're a young guy starting out, this is within a matter of months, you could be the perceived expert within a particular space in the financial services. How to make groups work for you. There's a lot of mystery around groups and start to generate leads in your target market. My goal is to give you something that you can go away with and actually start to generate leads immediately. And how I'm going to do that is I'm actually going to give you the script of what you write to people when you find them to engage them in a discussion and pull the conversation offline. So we're going to cover that right at the end. Okay, here's some cool stats that have been released from LinkedIn. So the reality is that the financial advisors are already shifting this direction. But what I found is there's a lot of mystery over exactly what to do when you're on LinkedIn, because you kind of know your customers are on there, but LinkedIn's traditionally a recruitment site. So most people just upload their CV and then go, well, have a look around and sort of connect with their colleagues and clients and think, well, what do I do next? And the reason being is LinkedIn don't actually have the resources, particularly in Australia and New Zealand, to train everyone. And they only offer that sort of support to like the big businesses and banks and things like that. So there's actually a lot of mystery around how to use the platform. You know, I've been to see LinkedIn on several occasions, and they, you know, very supportive, but they're not allowed to have partnerships with training organizations at all, because the business model that they have is it's really pushing people to upgrade to different kinds of premium level accounts. So it's kind of important to understand their business model, because a lot of people think, well, if I upgrade to Sales Navigator or a premium account or recruitment account, that all of a sudden, you know, I'm going to get this huge flow of leads and people are going to jump out of the computer and throw their credit cards on the floor. It doesn't work like that at all. Look, if you don't know how to use it in the first place, that, you know, it's not going to make any differences. So it can cause a lot of frustration for people, and you can waste quite a bit of money on it. So I think learn the basics first. Once you can see that it's working for you, then, you know, by all means, start to look at the upgrades and so on. Just by way of context, my father is a managing director of an asset management company in Hong Kong. So I've actually grown up around the industry. And, you know, my dad's a, you know, great salesperson. He's a bit of a laugh, enjoys a drink and all that. But one of the things I noticed is, you know, he's kind of, when I was growing up, he was doing a lot of traveling. At one point, he was doing 50 flights a year, and, you know, always out entertaining clients. And that's one of the reasons he has such good relationships with his clients. But these days, you can actually do a lot of it online. There's this thing called the digital handshake that exists now, and you can actually leverage your time so much more effectively and not need to spend all these hours, you know, entertaining people and so on. This is a social network used for business. I mentioned this stat earlier. Again, more statistics here. You can see the huge difference between the likes of LinkedIn and Facebook. By the way, there's just 6 million people in Australia that are on LinkedIn at the moment. And it's kind of like 80-20, like 20% are probably like active using it every day, and 80% is more like passive. Whereas globally, it's like 300 million plus and growing. And, you know, LinkedIn's going for the the billion number in terms of memberships, and I can see it happening as soon as salespeople start to catch on. This is the new era, and this is the new, way that selling is going to be done. And the old forms of marketing, where you just spray everyone and anyone and everyone, hoping you find someone who's interested, is just gone. And it's moving more to people want personal connections. They want to know who the person is they're dealing with, as opposed to just who the brand is that's been created and fabricated by marketing professionals. So it's not what you know, it's who you know. And if you get all of your clients from word of mouth, and and then you say to me, well, you don't need any marketing, then LinkedIn is word of mouth on steroids. It just leverages your existing network such an absolutely huge amount. And I've seen this firsthand. And 9 months ago, when I started this business, we started running lead generation campaigns for various different businesses. We work with so many different industries now that I've seen over and over again the same systems apply. And I can see that people are starting to catch on. But when you're like running these campaigns across different industries, and you're training all sorts of business professionals, that's actually when you really start to learn. So before you do absolutely anything, I would suggest that you get a plan in place. And to be successful at LinkedIn, you have to stand out from the crowd, and you do that by nailing what your personal brand is. What is it that makes you different? This is the process that we go through internally to nail down who you are, what are your strengths, what are your values, why are you passionate about what you do, and also your unique selling positions, unique selling points, who your target market is, and your strategy. So today, I want to go into the real nuts and bolts of the strategy side, because I'm sure that you all have a pretty well thought out personal brand. And if you don't, then just brainstorm a few ideas as to what it is that makes you unique and what niche you might actually want to target. So there's pretty much a 4-step formula with the strategy side. It used to be 3 steps, but I've added the last one there because I've seen a lot of mistakes happen where people find the right people, they connect with them, they engage these key decision makers, but then they don't actually go as far as pulling the conversation offline. And it's really one of the biggest mistakes that you can make is if you're just going back and forth messaging and chatting on LinkedIn or email, you really don't get anywhere. You have to keep in mind what the objective is. And generally the objective is a telephone call for qualification purposes, or even a face-to-face meeting in the financial services industry. So build a quality network and attract leads. So profile optimization, it's interesting that the easiest way to get more visibility on LinkedIn is actually to have more connections, because the way the search engine works is your first connections always come up first. So, you're only strong as your network, then the second connections come up. And if you've got a premium account, then you'll get the third connections as well. So the more connections you have, the more visibility you're going to have. So am I suggesting that you that you connect with absolutely everyone? No, I'm not. I'm not suggesting that at all. What I'm suggesting is you do connect with people that are could be in your target demographic, or could be connected with people in your target demographic. Okay, and connect with key decision makers and engage them. Should be a D there. Look, you can nail down people on LinkedIn with the advanced search tool by what job they have, what industry they're in, a postcode radius by 15 kilometers, all within the LinkedIn Advanced tab, and then build a house of social proof. Because if you do all of this and you contact all of these different people that may be interested in what you do, then and they come to your profile and it's just literally a few lines about what your company does and reads much like a CV, then the whole thing will fall apart. Like, you really need to have an awesome profile. I suggest getting it optimized professionally. We have a 22-step formula that we go through, which covers everything from your photograph to where your keywords are placed, how do you speak in benefit-driven language that you can, the buyers will understand. And in your financial services, it's very much trust-orientated. We want it to, the website, the LinkedIn profile to be like your personal website. Because when you search on Google for your name, and if you haven't tried this, try it after the call, you'll find that more often than not, the first search result would be your LinkedIn profile. And if it's not, once it's optimized, it will be. And in that scenario, like people will search for your name before they meet with you. I'm sure a lot of you do it yourselves, and I do it as well. And when they see the LinkedIn profile as the #1 search result, that's exactly where they're going to click. 70 or 80% of the times they're going to click on the first search result. So it's actually in that scenario more important than your website. So you wouldn't have your website set up in a way which your CV would be. So have a think about structuring it with a bit of marketing appeal, and there's a lot of different things that you can do to achieve that. So this may seem like common sense, but the photograph is obviously like one of the most important things, and a lot of people don't bother to get a professional one. And a lot of people do, and a lot of people do bother to get a professional one, but it kind of looks the same as everybody else's, because everyone's got the same professional headshot. It was done at the company, and they all look very similar. Whereas the people that actually do something a bit different generally tend to stand out. I've interviewed a couple of the LinkedIn power profiles, they call them, which essentially like they have an award for the most viewed profiles in Australia. And I've interviewed a couple of these people, and the #1 thing that they can put down to why they've had more visibility than anybody else on LinkedIn is their photograph was a bit quirky. They did something a little bit different. One had it, one in Central Park. Another guy had like a half body shot. It's just got to be industry specific. But if you can make it a little bit different, it will make a world of difference. Okay, so we're going to move on to talking about your profile. And this is a screenshot of what mine used to look like. I don't think it's like that anymore, but this is the idea behind like a lot of these things that I'm going to go through, is to first of all optimize it for search results, and second of all to tell people exactly what you do. So when you're going through, we go back a slide, these sort of search results here as an example. That's the headline people are going to see, and that's the headline that people are going to that's what you're going to show up for in search results. So like if I was looking for a computer software development or something like that, like account manager is not a keyword that I would type in. That's something a recruiter would type in, or maybe even a salesperson would type in. But you want to put something that's keywords rich about what your consumers would type in. So like if LinkedIn lead generation is obviously a keyword for me, so I put that in there. The headline has got the most important it's the most important part of the LinkedIn SEO. You'll find that you even start to rank on Google for these keywords if you do it correctly. LinkedIn on the whole is a lot easier to control the search results than the likes of Google. Pretty straightforward, really. You do your headline, do a few of these things here, like your websites. You'll notice here that you can customize them so that they have keywords in them as well. When you go to your websites section in contact information, you can actually select whether it's a company website, personal website, or a blog, and they have a choice at the end where you can select other and put in some keywords there. Generally, like hyperlinks have more weighting than normal, just text. So if you can put keywords there, that's worthwhile doing. So in your LinkedIn profile, when you're in edit mode, you'll notice that just below the box at the top there, you'll see contact information and where you can put all of that sort of stuff in. If you do get stuck on it, I'll provide you with some resources at the end to get in touch with one of our guys to help you out with that. The contact information is quite important. I don't suggest that you necessarily need to put your mobile there, but if you fill more of this stuff out, you will get more visibility with LinkedIn. Postcode is very important. Make sure you put your postcode in there, because a lot of people will search using postcode. It's one of the most common parts of the search bar that people use. So if you don't have one, you won't show up when people are looking in your area. So headline, another thing you'll notice is, like, I've got a few terms here. You kind of have to get over the idea that there's no rules on LinkedIn, and you can kind of put what you want. Some people would put something like, I help people get more customers from LinkedIn, or something like that, a bit more descriptive. But, for these social media speaker, LinkedIn training, marketing, invariably rank quite well within my network. And register your own LinkedIn web address down the bottom here, if you can see that. So essentially what that means is you have your own URL, linkedin.com/in, and then / your name, or you can even use keywords in there. And what that'll do is actually help you rank on Google for that particular keyword. So if you're not ranking #1 for your name, if you customize your own LinkedIn URL, you will find that you move up the Google rankings quite quickly. Okay, so so there's a few things. Your summary is probably the most important in terms of connecting with your customers, because that's probably what they're going to read if they read any of it, and they need to capture them within the first couple of sentences. So the way to do that is tell them exactly what you do within 2 sentences maximum. A lot of people make the mistake of saying, well, I started my career in 1987, you know, in England, and then I moved into this, and then I thought, oh, this isn't the right thing for me, so I went to this. And it's not relevant to your clients. Like, they want to know exactly who you are, why you do what you do, and, you know, why you're good at it. And, you know, just like if you're in self-managed super funds, for example, you know, say we've recognized the need for a first-class, you know, customer service in the SMS industry, and you know, I love helping clients fulfill their financial goals or whatever it is. So you're connecting with the client, and not just talking about yourself. It's more benefit driven, and your experience tabs are much the same. Recommendations. All I'll say about recommendations is do what you can to get recommendations from your clients. Don't get them from your colleagues or family members or anything like that. People can see a lot quite through that quite easily. But people are always willing to help. The funny thing is, though, they quite often don't actually know how to do this on LinkedIn. Like, where do I go? What do I click on, etc., etc. So the easier you can make it for them, the better. And what I can do actually after the call later on today is we have a video which pretty much steps you through exactly how to do it on LinkedIn, where to click, all that kind of stuff. So you can even just send them the link to that, and that'll talk them through it. And even perhaps even offer to, you know, draft something up, because they may not know what to write. I'm sure you've all seen this box here with skills and experience, and a lot of you have probably been endorsed for things that you know, you may or may not have done, but for people that you may or may not know. And the reason that happens is quite simple, really. It's just because there is this law of, you know, reciprocity. I hope I pronounced that right, where people, you know, believe that if they endorse others, then they'll get endorsed back, and they do. Like, it's actually true. That's how it works. So that's why you're getting endorsed by people that don't necessarily know you. And guess what? If you want to get more endorsements yourself, that's the quickest and easiest way to do it. I know for a fact that if you went out and endorsed like 1,000 different profiles in the next 24 hours, that you'd probably shoot over 100 for a lot of your own skills, even if you were to change them to like feature film director or something like that. I don't think it really make much difference. So it's just one of those things where, you know, it's not 100% accurate, but it does do a huge amount subconsciously when people see this, you know, a huge mountain of social proof on your profile, and it builds a lot of trust and credibility. You can actually drag this skills section way up your profile and rearrange things so that you're getting the benefits, social proof, and just optimizing it in the highest conversion format. And that's one of the things that we do for our clients when we optimize profiles. I was just talking about this before, but you'll notice that this is the LinkedIn search results. That's, oh, sorry, I've just got a message come through. No worries, Peter. Thanks for joining us. And so I'll just get back to the search results. And I think like this is quite important, because when we're like, I'll use an example of a team member, if you like. Like one of our team members who came on board was getting, I think it was pretty much 2 or 3 profile views a day. And then all of a sudden, you know, when they joined our group and we optimized their profile, and sure, they was doing a bit of activity and setting out some messages and stuff, but within 7 days, they were getting 93 views per day. You can imagine, like, in if we're paying $20 a click on Google AdWords, to get 90 views is huge. That's, I mean, that's, you know, fantastic, and it's all free, obviously. And it was converting into appointments. So, you know, huge, phenomenal results and huge amounts of traffic coming from Google. So I just wanted to cover the way that social media has changed the game completely. Traditional business, you kind of got your network, and it's a small circle of influence, and price competition is quite active in a lot of markets. I'm sure the rates are in financial services. always on the hunt for new business, not always working with the ideal clients, kind of like, I don't really want to work with you, but I will. And spend a lot of money on marketing, and it's really hard to measure because, you know, we send out like 1,000 messages to, send out 1,000 direct mails, for example, to like the CBD, and you don't get any response. Like, you know, it's not really a good indication as to whether or not it works. You kind of need to do it at least 7 times to start to see the result, because the repetition builds the brand, and it's the ongoing engagement that builds it. And a lot of small businesses don't have the resources to keep testing and measuring these things without knowing if it's going to work. And social media is like, I mean, the capacity and the scalability of it is absolutely humongous. And a lot of people think that, you know, that this isn't scalable. This is the most scalable form of marketing that I've ever come across. There's 300 million plus people on LinkedIn, and there's no limitation as to how many of them you can get in touch with. Once you systemize the lead generation method, that's when you'll start to see results, because everything that we teach you is going to get you leads on LinkedIn, no doubt, but it's time consuming. There's no like technology that makes it all like really easy to just message 10,000 people like in email marketing. You have to go through one by one and do it. And it's quite time consuming if you're busy. And, you know, this is why I started a business, because I was spending about 2 or 3 hours a day doing my LinkedIn lead generation. And I thought I've got to pass this on to an assistant. And so I had to systemize it, and I did. I came up with this 4-step formula, and I fine-tuned the scripts and strategies, and now we offer this service to our clients. And we're literally that efficient that we could be sending out like 50, 60, even up to 100 messages in an hour. Do we always do that? No, we don't, because actually at the end of the day, the quality of the leads is going to get you a lot more results, and we're all about delivering results. And I think that if you have a system and you can see that it works, to not be able to not have to think about what are we going to market, which are we going to target every month, because you know what works. That's when you can start to scale a business. And I'm talking like scaling a business extremely fast. As soon as you bring on a salesperson, you could be filling their inbox with leads within the matter of 48 hours. Okay, one big hot tip: if you're going to go away and generate leads today, join some groups where you think your target market will be a member of. So if you're targeting, let's go back to the example of plastic surgeons, then, you know, join like the Royal Australasian College of Surgeons, perhaps, or if you're targeting people in the real estate industry, join a real estate group. But what happens is when you have something in common with these people that are also in the group, you can actually find them on LinkedIn. They show up in the search results. And guess what? If you actually go into the group, a lot of them you can actually message directly from groups. So you don't even have to be connected to these people to send them a message. This is one of the big unknown secrets on LinkedIn, is you can actually message people you're not connected with without buying emails or premium accounts and all that kind of stuff. So this platform is still evolving, and I promise you that in a year's time, a lot of the things that we do to gain, you know, huge competitive edge by using LinkedIn won't be around in 12 months' time. One of two things will happen: either LinkedIn decide to, you know, work out how to monetize this huge market of sales professionals on LinkedIn, or they'll just make it more difficult to connect with people that you don't know. So find, connect, engage. Generally, the engagement is where most people fall down. If you learn how to use the search tool, you could probably master these two. So what is it that you say to somebody that you've never met before, who's hanging out on LinkedIn, to make them want to, you know, catch up and do business with you? So let's look at a case study. This is a live example. This is Maureen. She's a good friend of mine, and we've done some lead generation stuff for her, and she's based in Singapore. She sells real estate in Australia. And she did say to me once, she goes, look, I think what you're doing with LinkedIn is fantastic. It's just a shame that it doesn't work for consumers. It's you know, just for business to business. And I said, well, why do you say that? And she said, well, how the hell could you get me clients who want to buy real estate in Australia through LinkedIn? And so what we did is we did some brainstorming. We thought, well, why don't we just search for people who, first of all, let's have a look. First of all, live in Singapore. The school that they went to was Monash University. The title was director or CEO. The industry was finance, legal, or banking. Interested in property investments, right? And one of the groups that we included was Real Estate Investment Australia. Okay, now if you did, that's quite a specific search. If you did it, you probably find like not many people in the search results if you did it straight away. But because we went about our techniques of building connections within that demographic and joining some groups which are within that demographic, the search results were more than enough to fill, her pipeline with leads in Singapore, with people who were interested. And we'll go into what the message says in a minute, but this is what she wrote back to us just after a week. He said, wow, thanks a million, guys. And after just a few days, I've had almost doubled my network and already have 10 qualified leads. So that's fantastic. Just a few days and 10 leads in a B2C market. So very pleased with that result. And we'll talk about the messages. Okay, so you all would have received messages on LinkedIn, and you're probably thinking, well, how the hell does this work? And this is just an example of one that I've had recently. And I bring it up just to show you what not to do. And hope you're doing good. I am such and such business analyst from White Lake Technology. We are an ISO certified digital marketing company. We have helped shaped up the business for more than 10,000 clients. We have certain more digital solutions on board, including analytics, blah, blah, blah. We assure you the best quality and cost-effective services. So there's a lot of we and I in there. And to be honest, when you don't know somebody, you're really going to be interested in what they want, especially not if you're on, LinkedIn. People are there to do business. They have a limited amount of time. So it's not actually about the person writing the message. It's actually about the person that you're messaging. And as a general rule, if you didn't write anything about what you did personally, then you probably have a much better chance of converting. Like, I don't see how anyone would reply to this unless they, just don't get many messages on LinkedIn at all, and just happen to have this need at the time you send one through. This is another one which I received, and look, I don't think this is that bad. It's short to the point. I've already accepted his invite, but look, the idea is that now we're connected. Hopefully we can find time for a face-to-face just to see if maybe my product might be of value to your clients. I'd really appreciate that opportunity. Well, a couple of things that are wrong with that. First of all, I don't really care if his product is of value to my clients or not. I don't see how that's of any benefit to me. And he'd really appreciate the opportunity. Well, yeah, that's great, but I don't know who this guy is. So what a better thing that he could say was, I've got, if he didn't say my product, if he said I've got a couple of ideas of how we could add value to your clients, and as opposed to saying I'd really appreciate opportunities, say something about perhaps what he's seen on my profile, or show some interest in what I'm doing, then that he's actually get a much better response rate. This is one that we've used internally, and it's this one works extremely well and very short to the point, very conversational. And you can actually, as you can see, just customize this based on changing the name. So, hi, John, I've got a big profile, interested in catching up with seeking someone in the building industry who's serious about their growth objectives, and it seems like it could be an ideal fit. How he plays for a telephone call Thursday morning at 10 a.m. Now, first and foremost, that's not enough for somebody to make, an appointment with somebody that they don't know. What they're obviously going to do next is click on the link to their LinkedIn profile. And what they see when they get there will determine whether or not there's a meeting that happens at the end of it. So the profile optimization is one of the key components of this whole thing. Okay, this is what we sent for Maureen. Thanks for connecting. Hope you're well. If you look at your profile, notice you went to Monash Uni. I'm actually from Melbourne as well. You've been in Singapore very long. I'm getting to know a few more Aussies that are in business here, as I've been offered more and more undervalued property deals from contacts in the real estate industry in Oz. Some in particular in high growth areas, positively geared and massively undervalued. Do you know anyone that would benefit from being kept in the loop on these kind of opportunities? A couple of things you'll notice there is there is a couple of grammatical errors and abbreviations and things like that have been put in there, deliberately, and that is really to make it appear as genuine as humanly possible, because it is being sent out to hundreds of people, and it is genuine because it is targeted demographic. But the way to get people to respond is to actually make it appear as if you just send the one off, and it's really just all about that other person. So, and by saying, do you know anyone that would benefit from being kept in the loop of these opportunities, it's not like it doesn't come across as a hard sell. So you can see that a lot of the keys to being successful on LinkedIn is not actually about learning the technology at all. Like, I mean, there's part of it, but it's really just about selling and social media selling and how that's just changed the world. Common misconceptions, which better knock on the head, is being successful on LinkedIn means spamming your network. It's the last thing I suggest you do. Targeted messaging is always the way to be the most successful and have relevant stuff. I've got a lot of LinkedIn connections, so I don't need any more help. Yeah, look, LinkedIn connections is the wrong thing to measure. If you're looking to generate opportunities and sales and business, that's what you should be measuring, not the number of connections. It's no different to Facebook page. It's got 30,000 likes and no engagement. You should be posting on LinkedIn all day long, getting 37 comments and 25 likes, and you could have 20,000 connections and get no business because you're just sitting on the computer all day. So measure the right things, measure return on investment. LinkedIn will work for B2C and B2B. It works absolutely fantastically in the financial services industry. And I'm going to pop in an offer right now because I'm conscious of time, and we wanted to offer something to you guys who came along today just to get on the way. I encourage you all to take us up on this. It's really like just a way to get started. It's a profile optimization special offer. You should see it pop up in your window. Basically, get a free LinkedIn strategy with a 3-step formula and custom message script. We'll write the script for you exactly for your target market and show you how to find them. And we'll do the profile optimization as well. If you're interested in that process, just click on I'm interested. It should take you to our calendar booking system where you can lock in a phone call for 15 minutes with one of our consultants today. This offer is only available today and just for people that are on the call as well. The profile optimization, there's 2 options, there's a basic and a premium. Premium basically has a 22-step formula and the basic is a 12-step. But yeah, we'll save you a huge amount of time than having to work it all out yourself. They're definitely worthwhile. All right, so I guess to wrap up, leverage LinkedIn to generate new customers. Think of it like your personal website. Position yourself as the authority in your industry and just generate leads with your targeting messaging. So the idea is not just to post stuff and hope that the buyers are going to come running to you. You've actually got to go and connect and engage with these people. And that's the way you're going to generate a huge amount of revenue on LinkedIn. Another mistake that a lot of people make, I guess, is not pulling the conversation offline. When we run our training programs, we show people how to start these conversations and relationships, how to move them forward and how to take them offline, because it's not until you take them offline that you'll have a sales conversation where you'll learn a little bit more about who they are, what they need, what problems they have, and the solutions that you have to offer. And if you try to do that online, you're typically going to turn them off and lose them. So you can build great relationships and you can do all these different things and have this big, huge network. But if it doesn't translate to revenue in your business, then you're really missing out. So this is a really important step, I suppose, to the whole exercise. So that's it for today, guys. Thanks very much for attending. And if you ever need any support with LinkedIn, feel free to shoot me an email or get in touch via our website, bibbyconsultinggroup.com.au. I'll post that offer up again. Is worthwhile taking if you are considering getting a profile done professionally. This is a great way to get started. Is it not showing up? It's not showing up. Okay. Oh, there it is. Profile optimization special offer. Okay, so just click on that. All it is a phone call, and one of our guys will probably be Jordan, Paul, or perhaps even myself. We'll give you a buzz this afternoon, just explain exactly what is involved in the offer and look at getting you started. The profiles generally take about a week. So thanks for everyone for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your day.